What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, to say that the MCU was without humor back in the Infinity Saga would be an enormous fallacy. A character like Tony Stark from day one, who seemingly never took anything too seriously, was always willing to drop the right joke in at the wrong moment for comic relief. And of course, while some characters, say Spider-Man or especially Deadpool, are more quote-unquote funny than others when it comes to their dialogue and stories, there was a through line through the Avengers films that Marcus and McFeely were able to impart in the script, and while not always specifically somber, was heavy and mature enough so that when there was humor, it was a punctuated comic relief moment and not an undercutting of the serious nature of the story being told. And so, like the comics, the MCU has always been big enough to house all sorts of characters, from the serious to the funny and everything in between. There is sort of a variance to the sequence in the way characters come out, and arguably over the last 24 months, a disproportionate number of the TV shows, again, that we didn't have during the Infinity Saga, have chosen the comedic route over the serious, and less of the films have been as serious as, say, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which wouldn't make you any less of a fan if you could admittedly say that maybe you sort of miss the disproportionate number of serious films that we used to get during the Infinity Saga and miss the tone of, say, something like Captain America: Winter Soldier. Well, if you're in that camp of the fan base, you have reason to get excited. A huge industry insider update about what to expect from two major back-to-back films next year in Marvel Studios, a departure from the silliness that we've seen in Phase 4, headed right back into the serious tone that some of us remember and love from the Infinity Saga. We're breaking down this latest update and Marvel Studios' tonal change for the silver screen next year, but first I want to tell you about my friends over at comicbookdirect.com. They are a brand new website that's launched that's really making it easier than ever to get your hands on the comic books you want. They work with all the major publishers and have any individual issues you may need, but what's awesome about them is they make it easy to go ahead and subscribe to an entire run. Here I am subscribing to the X-Men run now. I'll get every issue weekly and I don't have to go out of my way or make stops at the comic book store. They've got everything: collectibles, figures, manga, comics, so go ahead and check them out. There's a link down in the description, and if you sign up using code EVERYTHINGALWAYS, you'll save 20%. Again, that's comicbookdirect.com. Okay, so this latest update about Marvel Studios' tonal change comes to us from the anonymous Twitter scoopster, The Watcher. He posted this yesterday, quote, "Captain America: New World Order and the Thunderbolts are going to be significantly darker and more serious in tone than recent Marvel projects. A duology of trauma and war." And for those of you curious, duology specifically means a pair of stories, novels, or, and in this case, a pair of films. Now, the slightly darker and more serious tone that The Watcher is invoking gets me super excited, because that for me calls back directly to something like Captain America: Winter Soldier, a movie now, when compared to the silliness that hallmarked a lot of Marvel's Disney Plus shows, especially during Marvel Phase 4, feels like it's something completely different. And as I mentioned during the prologue, Marcus and McFeely able to craft a story through Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame that really capitalized on the gravitas of the serious nature in which the MCU started, so that when you got things like Guardians of the Galaxy, it felt like the outlier and a really nice change of pace. Now, I specifically bring up Guardians of the Galaxy because, rightly or wrongly, I'm going to attribute a lot of the tonal change for Marvel Studios, or rather the tone we've heard a lot recently during Marvel Phase 4, the same tone from Ant-Man and the one that was inherited for most of their Disney Plus projects, directly to James Gunn. The sort of self-deprecating nature he's able to bring to dialogue and character interaction is something that is specifically James Gunn. No other director in recent cinema has been able to make me laugh while there's still tears in my eyes from the same scene moments before. That's something that was amazing about the first couple of Guardians films, the full range of emotion and in a short amount of time, and something to me at least that sets James Gunn apart as an absolute master when it specifically comes to writing. He's a great director, but really it's that range and emotion in his writing that has really set his scripts and stories apart. And for better or worse, it seems like Marvel Studios, especially in Phase 4, used this as the blueprint and tried to create a simulacrum of James' nuanced tone. Self-deprecating, undercutting dialogue that constantly looks to downplay the serious nature of everything around it. And you can do this if you're a master of nuance like James Gunn. But in the face of not having good writing or the gravitas I just mentioned in any of the story that's being woven, then there is zero contrast between the heavy and somber nature of that story and the bombast and silliness and self-deprecation of the dialogue on top. And in fact, the opposite happens. The undercutting just looks to highlight how bad the writing is, and that's where you get some of these episodes during the Disney Plus shows, or maybe some of the complete tonal misses from films in Phase 4, perhaps like Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, you guys know my stance on this. I don't really think things are all good and all bad, and I am definitely a biased fan. When it comes to the TV shows, something like She-Hulk or Miss Marvel, I actually rather enjoyed most of the series, just didn't like a couple of episodes, but that's the same basically for any TV series I've ever watched ever. Some episodes are just better than others, you have different writers. But as I feel like a lot of people ubiquitously felt when they saw Wakanda Forever, it kind of was refreshing to see a movie that from minute one and in the MCU takes the story completely seriously. And of course the subject matter in that film called for it, as it will with Captain America: New World Order, as it will with the upcoming Thunderbolts right after it, and as we know now, those will sort of work as a two-part movie. Of course the subject matter will be the same. Sam Wilson from day one has always been a vet. That was part of the story they told during Winter Soldier, and being an Army veteran is still very much a part of his story now, and it's the same exact case with the Thunderbolts that will follow. A lot of mercenaries, but vets in their own way who have been in battle for quite some time, and I think it's that subject matter specifically they're looking that will tie these stories together. And when the Watcher says a duology of war and trauma, it's their experiences during war and where they are now as an arc for their characters, which again is serious in nature, something that I hope Secret Invasion is going to get back to. And most certainly there'll be strong elements of drama in Loki season 2, but when you've got Owen Wilson in tow, there's always going to be some comedic relief. That's part of Loki's character as well. And with the Marvels, with the footage we've already seen from D23, that for sure is going to bring Miss Marvel's humor over. There's also going to be a ton of humor, of course, in Guardians of the Galaxy. So to have two serious movies on the horizon, and also know that we should get Blade before we get Deadpool and Wolverine, which will be a return, of course, to the complete undercutting and in every moment of the story. I actually can't wait for it, guys, and this sort of tonal change and aspect of the MCU is something I think they need to latch onto and maybe make sure that they put out a proportionate number of serious projects as we approach Avengers: The Multiverse Saga. And I'm also certainly hoping that they ramp up the violence, as we saw with something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and they can hold that over to these stories, because there's a large part, a huge part, most of the fan base that wouldn't mind a little more violence, especially when it comes to some of the action sequences for this stuff. You guys let me know all your thoughts down below. If you agree with me, how hyped you are for these films and the tonal change itself. Let me know all your thoughts. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. All right, we're still giving away a PlayStation 5. We're going to do so now to coincide with the Guardians of the Galaxy release, which is just a month or two away. If you want to be entered to win, all the same rules will always apply. All you got to do, hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at @ImFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name Allfires. And while I sincerely appreciate you checking my music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.